And again, architecture about when I teach my Cambly students, I'm such a nosy person. I sort of want to say, excuse me, can you just...
Minasan, konnichiwa, squishytalk episode. So, usually on this channel, you're used to hearing my opinion about Japan, but today, for the first time ever, I thought I'd have a guest on so you could hear somebody else's opinion about Japan. So, if you like videos like this, don't forget to like and subscribe. And let's get into it. So, I want to thank Cambly for sponsoring this video today and making this interview possible. So Cambly is an English learning platform where you can connect with over 10,000 tutors. That means you have access to a wide range of lesson plans, from planned lessons to free chat. Also, all lessons are recorded so you can go back and review them after, and the chat has a translation built into it. So if you're talking to a tutor and you need to translate a word, you don't have to go to Google Translate or anything like that. You can literally translate it in real time in the chat during the lesson. You can use code squishytalk for 15 minutes free.
Yeah.
All right, so the first thing I'm gonna ask is, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, yeah. My name is Alison Hoyland. I am a Cambly tutor and have taught on Cambly for now over a year.
Excellent. And so where are you from, like, specifically?
I originate from the north of England. For those of you who are familiar with cricket, we have great cricketing legends such as Dickie Bird and Geoffrey Boycott, and the great cricket fanatic Michael Parkinson, who was a chat show host in the UK.
Cool.
Great.
All right. So what first comes to your mind when you think about Japan?
Cherry blossoms, I think, really. And this strange land, this strange island or series of islands off the coast that has a very sophisticated, like Mars. It feels like it's very sophisticated, and there are people there who are amazing people.
Okay. So would you say Japan is a country that you would like to visit?
Awesome. Yes, definitely. Yes, I have friends who live there and have successfully settled down into Japanese culture and embrace all that the sophistication and respectfulness of the society that I believe to be there. And from my experience of Japanese people on Cambly, they are just such calm and together individuals. I find them very respectful and very nice people to spend time with and be alongside.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Okay, so what do you think of Japanese food? What's your experience with it?
I think of my only experience of actually being in Japan was my 24 hours in Tokyo. And I can remember looking in the restaurant windows at the pictures next to each other. And that was I'm sure that that's quite a time ago now, but I'm sure that things have changed, and that, well, can I understand any more Japanese than I did then? No. So would it be any clearer to me what I was eating? No, probably not at all. And I'm a real foodie fan. I'm interested in food, but I found it quite difficult not being able to identify what I would enjoy on the plate.
So now they have, and I don't know if it was like that back when you visited, but now they have plastic models of the food in the
Oh,
shop
yes.
window. Yeah, so you can like clearly see what it is, and it's not like the UK where, McDonald's, they have a picture of the food and you get it and it looks nothing like the
Yeah,
picture. In Japan, I find the food always looks exactly like what it does in the plastic model or in the
really,
picture. Yeah, it's
really.
really great.
Wow.
Yeah, there's no
Yeah,
surprises.
yeah. I also imagine fermented food.
Mhm,
And because I think of the Japanese culture and the food they eat as healthy and
mhm.
raw ingredients and fresh ingredients, and clearly. I can't, when I perceive or think about a Japanese person, I never think of them as a big person.
Hmm.
I always think of them as slim individuals, healthy, looking after themselves, taking care, considering what they eat in very slow motion almost. They don't eat quick food. I don't know if they do, but this is my perception, that they consider their nutrition and the value of their food very much more than we do in the West.
Yeah, I would have to agree. There definitely is quick food here, but
Mhm.
you're right. They do definitely take it more seriously, and every meal seems to be more thought out and 100% more balanced than
Yeah,
what we have in the UK. I
yeah.
mean, there definitely is fast food here, and there are traditional Japanese foods that aren't maybe as healthy as we think they are.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
but yeah, it's way more balanced here than what we have in the UK. A hundred
mm.
percent,
Yeah. And
definitely.
tea. I think of tea when I think of Japan as well. And again, I know we have a tea drinking culture, perhaps less ornate, but I always think of the Japanese as having beautiful porcelain with jasmine fragrances, and again taking that time to savor, to to embrace that moment of just being, really.
So, if you could come to Japan in the future, where in Japan would you like to visit?
I'd like to visit Tokyo again.
Mhm.
I'd like to go into the colder part, up
So
into the
Hokkaido?
Hokkaido. That's probably, yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. To to get a real sense of the remoteness and what that means in terms of culture, because I
Mhm.
think any capital city, any main shopping area is going to look, Oxford Street looks like the center of Tokyo, looks like the center of Moscow, looks like the center of New York, because the chains and the global companies are there. So I'd quite like to go out into the regions, and well, again, I think, as my friend did, she spent a lot of time in a farming community and befriended a lady who taught her the fundamental points of Japanese, and that's where she really embraced the culture and found her happy place. So I'd quite like to do that as well. Yeah.
I'm so glad that you said that because I think the cities in Japan are special. They are very popular with tourists, and when you go there, you can see why. Like, they are
Mm,
great, but I think the Japanese countryside is really, really special. So I'm really
mm.
glad that you are aware of that, I guess, because
Yes.
yeah, there are
Yeah.
so many places in Japan that are worth visiting. And, like I said, Tokyo, Kyoto, Osaka, all of those places are wonderful, but I think to really experience Japan, it's important to go in, the not so popular places. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, architecture, about when I teach my Cambly students, I'm such a nosy person. I sort of want to say, "Excuse me, can you just," and then I can, have a quick. What sort of room are you sitting in? Are you sitting on the floor? Are you sitting on a small seat, or are you sitting on an upright table like I am? And sliding doors. I figure are Japanese. You know,
Yeah.
what does that look like? What does it feel like? And the delicacy of their, I always think of their decorations like paper based and calligraphy and all those sort of things. What does that feel like? What does it look like? I find that very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when I moved to my first apartment in Japan and we had sliding doors, and I was like, why? Like, why? And then I learned it was a clever way to save space because obviously when you open a door, like
Mm,
that takes up room. And when I
mm,
learned that, I was so surprised. I was like, that makes so much sense. Like,
yeah,
why have we not thought about that in the UK? Because I mean, our houses aren't huge there, because, like you said, the UK is a small piece of land, but we never seem to be very mindful when designing our homes. I suppose
yeah,
most of them are quite old, but in
yes,
Japan, they think about these things, and so like
yeah, yeah.
having a sliding door really does save so much space. And I just think, wow, like that's so simple and so effective. Why don't we have this?
But the one question I don't understand, and because I haven't spent enough time in Japan, is I always think of Japanese, the nation, that they live at ground level. Is this true? That they sleep on futons, which are low beds, and they eat from a low table, and they can, whatever age they are, even in their 90s, they can sit cross-legged and eat from a lower platform than we do here. And I think there must be something, their bodies, their minds, their concept of humanity, of being a human being, must be so different. And that's what frustrates me, is that I don't hear more about that. How do Japanese people live? On what level do they live? Do they live close to the ground, or do they? Seem to find myself standing up a lot here, but I don't know.
That's a really good point. I think sitting on the floor and sleeping on the floor is definitely 100% more common here than it is in the UK. Like, you sleep on the floor here, and I think it's not talked about because it is just a normal thing. Whereas in the UK, if you say, "Oh, I sleep on the floor on a futon," everyone's like, "What's wrong with you? Like, why don't you have a
Yeah.
bed?" But yeah, here it is more normal. And I mean, there are restaurants where you do sit on the floor and eat. There are restaurants where you don't. It's kind of integrated, I think, really nicely into the 21st century, where it's like you have that option to go to a traditional restaurant and sit on the floor. And if you want to in your home, you have that option to sleep on the floor, but you don't have to. You can just, sit at a
Mhm.
chair or at a desk or.
Mm,
But yeah, I
mm,
think it is interesting because, yeah, when my dad came to visit, he met my husband's family and we sat on the floor, and my dad couldn't do it because obviously he's an older
exactly. Yeah.
gentleman and he's got like really bad knees. And he was amazed that everybody else could. And it's not something that you think about, is it? Like, I never thought about that being a problem. But yeah, if you're not used to it, it is something that's hard to do because, like, your body, I guess, isn't used to bending that way. Because when you're a kid, you sit on the floor all the time. But as an adult
Yeah.
in the UK, how often do you really do that?
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, how would I maintain my decorum having to get down there? 'Cause certainly, I'd have to be sort of on my hands and knees to try and get up. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on a minute. I'll be with you in a second.
Yeah, I was a bit like that at first. I'm a little more used to it now, but yeah, trying to stand up gracefully is definitely
Yeah.
like a talent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How on earth do you season your food? How do you find out what to use? And because again, I think it's a different culture. It's a different boiling and flavoring and seasoning are so different in Japan in comparison to how we prepare food here. Do they eat a
That
lot of fried food in Japan?
Yeah, yeah, but it's not the same fried food that we eat. And honestly, I think this was the biggest struggle for me was the first time I went to a supermarket by myself because I guess in my mind I was still thinking about Western food and what I would eat back home, and I was really struggling to find the ingredients.
Mm,
And so, I mean, luckily for me, my husband, obviously, he's a fantastic cook. I'm not going to lie about that. So
mm,
he was really useful, and he introduced me to a lot of Japanese products that I otherwise would never have tried or known about. So
mm,
that was a huge help to me. So I
mm,
really don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had him, because I would be trying to recreate Western dishes and I would have
mm,
struggled because the vegetables here, a lot of them are quite different. And like you said
mm,
as well, like seasoning and things like that. Japanese seasoning is amazing, but if I had no experience with it or didn't know what it was, I
mm,
would never
mm,
try it, which is like
mm,
so sad. Sometimes
mm.
I am eating Japanese food and I think, God, if I'd never moved here, I would never have tried this in my life. And it would have been the saddest thing because now this thing is my favorite.
Well, I don't know what Japanese people eat for breakfast. Do
Um,
they eat eggs and toast like the rest of us?
yeah,
I think probably they do. Yeah.
they do. Yeah, yeah. I mean, you can have, a traditional Japanese breakfast, which is like fish, a bowl of rice, some vegetables, super balanced, or you
Mm,
can just have like eggs, bacon, and toast.
mm,
Like, we do
mm,
have that option here, which is nice.
mm,
And sometimes I jump between the two of them, but
mm.
most of the time I don't really eat breakfast. I never really did in the UK either, just
Uh,
coffee.
yeah. Is there something that is a must try?
I think I would say the only thing that I can immediately think of right now is dango, which is like mochi, so like a Japanese rice cake. And there's like
Okay.
various different types with different sauces, and there's one that's basically made out of like a sweet soy sauce, and that's delicious. And then I recommend obviously takoyaki, which is deep fried octopus balls. And then again, you put like sauce on them. So good.
But what do the Japanese do on a Friday night after the working week has finished? Because I have no idea.
All right.
Um,
Um, as a British person, I was delighted to find that in Japan there is a huge drinking culture here. So they have
awesome.
izakayas, which is kind of like our version of a pub or a bar, and those are always
Okay.
full on a Friday night. And so yeah, I was pretty happy to learn that.
Yeah. But do they have a particular Japanese beer that, or type of beer that they all enjoy?
Well, my favorite beer is like Japanese beer, so Sapporo beer. That's my
Hmm.
favorite, and I prefer it to any beer I've had in the UK. And
Mm,
even like when my dad came to visit, he tried it, and it's now his favorite beer as well. So whenever I come home, I have to bring him Sapporo beer.
yeah.
So yeah, there's a bunch of really good beers um in Japan, but I think highball is really popular as well. So I believe that's some kind of whiskey cocktail, which I haven't really tried too much of, but that's
Mm,
really popular here as well. Japanese
okay.
whiskey is apparently really good. So
Yeah. Yeah.
thank you so much. Thank you so much. It's been wonderful talking to you today.
Okay then, Sky. Well, enjoy. I don't know where you are in time. It's a lovely day here, so I may well go. Is it Friday today?
It's
No,
Thursday.
Thursday. I was going to say
I'm
I may
so
well go
sorry.
to the pub. Damn, I'm going to wait another day. So,
Yeah, I'm so sorry to tell you that
yeah.
it's Thursday.
Oh well. Oh well. It means that tomorrow will be even more enjoyable at lunchtime in the pub.
Oh, I'm so jealous.
Ah,
All right.
okay. Well,
Thank
whatever
you.
you're doing, enjoy your evening, and
You
I hope we
too.
can chat again soon. So
I hope
take
so
care.
too. Take care. I hope your back feels
Okay.
better soon.
So do I. Yeah.
Bye.
Bye for now.
Bye.
Bye.
So that was my first time interviewing someone about Japan. So yeah, that was pretty fun. And thank you so much to Cambly for sponsoring this video. I think Cambly is actually a really good program if you want to learn English. I think that in-chat translation feature is very useful. Another thing I noticed was that a lot of English speakers on the platform actually live overseas as well. So I think you wouldn't have a problem booking someone for your time zone. So that was really cool. Thank you so much for watching today, you guys. If you would like 15 minutes free on Cambly, don't forget to check out the link in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!